This is getting crazy real quick. It's getting sticky real quick. The WNBA refs information has been leaked. There could be potential betting going on, a potential scandal. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who to trust. But this information has been put out. We got to get into it, man. The WNBPA has also failed to protect and represent Caitlin Clark. That is the Women's National Basketball Players Association. The Players Association have not.
The list is out. 34 names that were supposed to be the guardians of the game are now the center of a firestorm that could burn the entire WNBA to the ground. This isn't just about bad calls anymore. It is about the very real possibility of a betting scandal that has been lurking in the shadows for months. For weeks, fans have watched Caitlin Clark get battered and bruised without a whistle, and now we finally know exactly who is holding the whistle during those questionable moments. The veil of anonymity has been ripped away, and what is being revealed is a web of potential corruption that makes the league look like a choreographed circus rather than a professional sports organization.
With eight-figure contracts, getting arrested for betting and gambling and all of this stuff. You seen the Brendan Sorsby kid at Texas Tech got put out because he was betting on games. How do we know that these refs that are clearly sabotaging Caitlin Clark, how do we know they're not betting? We don't know anything. You can't put anything past any of these people, but these are the referees. They've been identified. Okay, take a look at these guys here. These are the WNBA refs, and they're all in question, all of them, because you don't know what their motives are.
Of every single WNBA official have been leaked to the public, and the timing couldn't be worse for a league already under intense scrutiny. A group known as Power Ties on social media released the first and last names of the 34 referees, comparing them to officials in the 1940s roller derby leagues. The claim is chilling, that these refs exist merely to provide an air of legitimacy to the infliction of violence against certain players. When you see the names and look at the tape, the patterns become impossible to ignore. We are talking about a group of officials who seem to have a specific agenda when it comes to the Indiana Fever, and now there is nowhere left for them to hide.
Question. All of them, because you don't know what their motives are. We've seen games where Caitlin Clark shoots 0 free throws, but we've seen games where Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson will shoot 20-plus free throws in a game. How do we know they're not prop betting? How do we know? We don't know nothing. Hold on, man. Y'all think it's a game. Take a look at this here. How do we know? 9-year NBA veteran Malik Beasley has been indicted on federal charges for gambling related to a sports betting scheme, such as point shaving and prop bets. His attorney, Steve Haney, tells ESPN the government is coordinating a voluntary surrender of
People are asking the big question: how do we know these refs aren't in on the action? We are living in an era where multi-million-dollar athletes with 8-figure contracts are being caught red-handed in gambling schemes. If a player like Malik Beasley can get caught up in a federal indictment for sports betting and point shaving, what makes anyone think a referee making a fraction of that salary is immune to the temptation? The suspicion is that these blatant missed calls and lopsided technicals aren't just incompetence, but something much more calculated. When a star like Caitlin Clark shoots 0 free throws in a game while her opponents live at the line, the math starts to look suspicious.
Malik Beasley, who had an 8-figure these referees aren't getting paid 8 figures. They're not making 8 figures. If he was getting 8 figures and this is what he was doing, how do we know these shady, shiesty refs? How do we know they're not doing something wrong? The identities are right here. We're going to be watching. We're going to be paying attention because a lot of y'all refs have put this bullseye on your own back. Y'all gave Caitlin Clark a tech, but then I watch Kayla McBride clapping you guys' face, no technical foul. I watched Paige Beckers just recently clap
Look at the case of Malik Beasley to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. The 9-year NBA veteran was indicted on federal charges for a sports betting scheme that involved point shaving and prop bets. His attorney even confirmed a voluntary surrender to the government after it was discovered he was manipulating his performance to hit specific overs and unders. If someone at that level is willing to risk a massive contract for a payout, why should we trust a group of WNBA officials who have been caught sabotaging the league's most profitable asset? It makes you wonder if every time a ref ignores a flagrant foul on Clark, there is a secondary motive that has nothing to do with the rules.
But then I watch Kayla McBride clapping you guys' face, no technical foul. I watched Paige Beckers just recently clap at you guys, taunting opponent, no technical foul. None. The WNBA finally reviewed one play for Caitlin Clark, and all of a sudden a new smear campaign is on in protection of Alyssa Thomas. This is all craziness, man. It's all crazy. But these are the refs identified, and we got to be careful. We got to pay attention, dot our I's and cross our T's. Eyes peeled, ear.
The numbers coming out of these games are absolutely sickening and hard to justify. We have seen matchups where Caitlin Clark is getting physically assaulted on the court, yet walks away with 0 free throw attempts. Meanwhile, players like Breanna Stewart and Aya Wilson are regularly rewarded with 20 or more shots from the charity stripe in a single night. This isn't just about a difference in playing style, it is a statistical anomaly that suggests a thumb is on the scale. When the refs were anonymous, they could hide behind the chaos of the game, but now that their names are public, fans are cross-referencing every missed call with betting trends, and the results are sparking a level of fury.
Pacers Fever fan, and we're about to get into what Christine Brennan had to say because this ties into it, okay? Here it says, Caitlin has had the most flagrant fouls committed against her out of all players since she has been in the league, and there's been so many uncalled ones. The W finally corrected one, and all of a sudden it's a problem. Because the WNBA corrected this one flagrant, blatant, disgusting foul and play by Alyssa Thomas, all of a sudden a new hate campaign, a new smear campaign has been launched right before our eyes, and it's
the double standard when it comes to technical fouls has reached a breaking point. We watched Caitlin Clark get hit with a technical for practically nothing, while other players are allowed to act out with total impunity. Kayla McBride can clap directly in a referee's face without any consequences. Paige Buchers can do the exact same thing to an opponent, and the refs just look the other way. But the second Caitlin shows any emotion or frustration with the constant physical abuse she endures, the whistle blows instantly. This isn't just officiating, it looks like a targeted campaign to silence a player who is bringing more eyes and money to this league than anyone in its history.
Swirls over Alyssa Thomas' one-game suspension. I reached out to WNBPA Executive Director Terry Jackson asking this: is it punishable for your fist in another player's throat, or is it not? Players Union spokesman said the WNBPA respectfully declines comment. The WNBPA has no interest in protecting Caitlin Clark after Caitlin Clark helped them. After Caitlin Clark helped the WNBPA secure a transformational CBA. This is what I'm talking about when I said they just was using.
What makes this even more disgusting is the total silence from the people who are supposed to protect these players. The Women's National Basketball Players Association has completely failed to stand behind Caitlin Clark after the brutal attack she has suffered on the court. You would think the union would want to protect their biggest star, but instead they have stayed quiet while she gets targeted night after night. It feels like she is being treated as an outsider rather than a member of the sisterhood. The fact that the union hasn't stood up against the blatant lack of protection from officials is a massive red flag that suggests the internal politics of the league are rotting from within.
The WNBPA secure a transformational CBA. This is what I'm talking about when I said they just was using her. You see what Emmanuel Acho said, oh, they got what they need out of her. They don't need her around anymore. You see what's going on. They used her up. That is what is going on. The fact that the WNBPA is trying to be hush hush and hide in a goddamn cave somewhere and act like they don't know what's going on or got nothing to say is disgusting. I said during the CBA negotiations, Terry Jackson should be fired. I said she should have been fired months ago. I've been said it. So
the league finally reviewed a play involving a flagrant foul by Alyssa Thomas, but the reaction from the WNBA executive office was even more shocking than the foul itself. When veteran journalist Christine Brennan reached out to WNBA executive director Terry Jackson to ask about the incident, the response was a respectful decline to comment. They refused to even say if putting a fist into another player's throat was punishable. This is the leadership of the league we are talking about. They are hiding in a cave while their most famous player gets treated like a punching bag. It's nasty work, and it shows that the league has no real interest in the safety or the integrity of its competition. It is becoming increasingly clear that the WNBA was just using Caitlin Clark to get what they wanted. They used her massive popularity and the record-breaking viewership she brings to secure a transformational collective bargaining agreement. Now that they have the deal, and the money is locked in, it feels like they don't care what happens to her. Analysts like Emmanuel Aiko have pointed out that the league seems to think they don't need her anymore now that they've secured the bag. They used her face to sell the league to the world, and now they are standing by while she gets physically and reputationally attacked by her own peers and the officials supposed to govern them. The smear campaign launched against Clark after the Alyssa Thomas suspension was a new low for the sport. As soon as the league took one small step to correct a blatant foul, a wave of hate was unleashed to protect the aggressor. It is insane to watch the narrative shift from a player being fouled to the league being unfair for enforcing its own rules. This type of gaslighting is exactly why many fans have viewed the WNBA as a joke for so long. They finally have a chance to go mainstream and become a top-tier professional organization, but they are choosing to cling to petty jealousies and shady officiating instead of embracing the growth Clark provides. That we have to talk about the financial incentives for these referees because that is where the betting scandal really takes root. These officials are not making 8-figure salaries like the stars in the NBA. When you have people in positions of power who are underpaid relative to the amount of money flowing through the games they call, you create a breeding ground for corruption. If a referee knows that a certain outcome or a specific player prop can net them a massive payday on the side, and they already have a personal bias against a player, the temptation becomes overwhelming. With the list of their names now public, every single one of their financial ties needs to be investigated. The comparison to the roller derby era isn't just hyperbole. It is a terrifyingly accurate description of what we are seeing. In those old leagues, the violence was the draw, and the referees were just there to make sure the right people won, and the drama kept the fans coming back. Is that what the WNBA has become? Are these 34 identified referees actually just actors in a scripted drama designed to keep the status quo? When you see the lack of technicals for veterans and the constant targeting of the rookie, it starts to look less like a sport and more like a reality show where the ending has already been decided by someone behind a curtain with a sports book open. Christine Brennan's reporting has exposed the cowardice at the top of the organization. By reaching out and getting a no-comment response regarding a fist to a player's throat, she highlighted the total lack of accountability. Terry Jackson should have been fired months ago for her failure to lead during this transition. You are not protecting your biggest star, and in doing so, you are telling every new fan that the rules don't apply equally. If the WNBA wants to be taken seriously, they cannot have an executive director who hides when the tough questions are asked. The refusal to support Clark is a betrayal of the game's integrity and a slap in the face to the fans. Let's go back to the Malik Beasley situation because the details are a blueprint for what might be happening here. The group of bettors involved in that scheme were specifically taking the over on rebounds and cashing out during games against the Clippers and the Nets. They were looking for tiny, specific movements that a referee could easily influence with a single whistle or a well-timed non-call. If a ref can shave a point here or a rebound there, they can swing thousands of dollars in the betting markets without anyone noticing. Unless, of course, someone starts looking at the names of the refs and realizes that the same people keep appearing in these suspicious games. Caitlin Clark has had the most flagrant fouls committed against her of any player since she entered the league, and those are just the ones that were actually called. There have been dozens of uncalled hits that would have led to ejections in any other professional league. The fact that the WNBA finally corrected just one of them, and it caused a league-wide meltdown, tells you everything you need to know. The culture is toxic, and it is being enabled by the 34 people in the gray shirts. They have put a bull's eye on their own backs by refusing to be fair, and now that their identities are out, the fans are going to be watching every single move they make on that court. There is a sense of nasty work happening behind the scenes that goes beyond just bad officiating. It feels like a coordinated effort to humble a player who didn't pay her dues in the way the veterans wanted, but the fans didn't come to see people pay dues. They came to see the best basketball player in the world. By allowing the refs to sabotage Clark's games, the league is effectively telling the fans that their experience doesn't matter. They are prioritizing the feelings of a few disgruntled veterans and shady officials over the growth of the entire sport. It is a short-sighted strategy that is going to backfire as more evidence of this potential betting scandal comes to light. The technical foul disparity is the smoking gun. How can you justify a technical on Clark for showing frustration while allowing other players to literally clap in your face? It is a clear sign that the refs are trying to bait her into ejections or foul trouble. This is exactly how point shaving works. You remove the best player from the game or limit their effectiveness through foul trouble to ensure the betting line moves in the direction you want. With 34 refs now identified, researchers are already digging into their history to see if there are connections to known gambling rings. The heat is turning up, and the league office is starting to feel the burn that we need to keep our eyes peeled and our ears to the streets because this story is developing faster than the league can keep up with. The WNBA is trying to act like everything is normal, but you can see the panic in their "no comment" responses. They know that if a connection is found between these officials and the betting markets, it could be the end of the league's credibility forever. They are a joke right now because they refuse to act like a professional organization. Protecting your assets is business 101, but the WNBA seems more interested in protecting a broken system of officiating that is clearly past its expiration date. The fact that Clark helped secure a transformational CBA and is now being treated this way is the ultimate betrayal. She brought the leverage, she brought the sponsors, and she brought the television deals, and in return, she gets a fist to the throat and a technical foul for complaining about it. It is a disgusting display of ingratitude from a league that was struggling to stay relevant before she arrived. The refs are the front line of this betrayal, using their whistles as weapons to keep her in check, but now that we know who they are, the game has changed. The anonymity that allowed them to be shady is gone, and the era of accountability is finally here. Every time a referee steps onto that court now, they are going to feel the weight of these allegations. They can't just blow a whistle and walk away anymore. The fans are documenting every move, every look, and every suspicious call. We are watching to see if the free throw disparity continues. We are watching to see if the technicals are handed out fairly, and most importantly, we are watching the betting lines. If a ref makes a call that perfectly aligns with a suspicious shift in the gambling markets, the world is going to know about it instantly. The bull's eye is on them, and they have no one to blame but themselves for their lack of integrity. The WNBA doesn't deserve Caitlin Clark if this is how they are going to treat her. They are lucky she is as professional as she is because most players would have walked away from this level of abuse and corruption a long time ago. She is carrying the weight of an entire league on her shoulders while the officials are trying to trip her up at every turn. It is a sick dynamic that needs to be fixed immediately. The identified referees need to be audited, and the league office needs to stop hiding and start leading. If they don't, they are going to lose the very audience they worked so hard to gain over the last year. We are dotting our I's and crossing our T's on this one. The information is out there, and the patterns are becoming clear. This isn't just a few bad calls. It is a systemic issue that points toward a massive scandal. Whether it's personal bias or financial gain through betting, the result is the same, a corrupted product that is unfair to the players and the fans. The 34 refs are now in the spotlight, and the shadow they were operating in has vanished. This is a turning point for the WNBA, and how they handle these exposures will determine if the league survives this transition or collapses under the weight of its own greed. As we move forward, the pressure is only going to increase. The fans are more educated than ever, and they aren't going to accept "no comment" as an answer anymore. We need transparency. We need fair officiating, and we need to know that the games aren't being manipulated for a payout. Caitlin Clark is furious. The fans are outraged, and the league is on notice.